Privacy protection is a big issue at the state capitol. It comes up in conversations about police body cameras, license plate scanning, and accessing email records. Senator Branden Petersen has proposed a state constitutional amendment that would protect electronic communication and data from unreasonable searches. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Say, this would require the public to vote, the voters to cast an opinion on this in the 2016?
Yes, it would, 2016. Yeah.
What's the need for putting this in the Constitution?
Well, in today's world, every intimate detail of our lives exists in a digital format. And so if we're to have any meaningful privacy protection, that area of our lives needs to be included. What we've seen across the country in circuit courts and state courts in particular is inconsistency and a lack of precedent around what sort of things are protected with the Fourth Amendment or that state's Fourth Amendment equivalent language in their Constitution. And so in certain areas, certain data is available to government at a lower standard, and in some states it does require a warrant. There's some circuit court jurisdictions that requires a warrant. This would provide clarity in those areas and add additional protections. And obviously with a constitutional amendment and any constitutional language, the courts would have to define exactly what that means. But I think it's pretty, I think most people agree that that language, our original language to protect privacy, would have been included with electronic communications and data had it been written today.
As you know, there are other lawmakers who say this is redundant and not necessary because this information is already protected under state law.
Well, it's not, quite frankly. Like I said, various circuit courts and state courts have ruled inconsistently. For example, in the 11th Circuit, up until last year, the police or government agencies could track cell phone location data without a warrant. Well, that circuit ruled in a case that it does require a warrant, but outside of the 11th Circuit across the country and including in Minnesota, it didn't up until we passed a law last session via statute to deal with that. So another area is your phone records. Right now that simply requires administrative subpoena, which is a much lower bar than a search warrant. So certainly it is very disputable to say that that's already protected, and in fact I would say it's an inconsistent area of law right now.
With the explosion of this technology, how just on the 30,000 feet level, how far is the state? Is the state kind of chasing this as far as policy to cope with the expanding technology?
Well, I think, like I said, I think there's a lack of clarity, and the Supreme Court has not issued a broad ruling on the issue. And so at the state level, we can provide that clarity ourselves. It's an issue that 70 to 80% of the public supports. And as a matter of fact, the state of Missouri became the first state in the country last year to overwhelmingly pass the constitutional amendment in a bipartisan manner through their legislature, and 75% of the people of Missouri voted in favor to put that in the Constitution.
You have a host of other data privacy bills at the legislature. This is just one of them.
Yeah.
You have another one that deals with the license plate readers that police use at the Mall of America. Bloomington police snap a picture of everyone's license plate when you go in there to the parking lot. How long should that data be stored? And for that matter, the video from police body cameras.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's an issue we're going to be dealing with this session. I respectfully agree with Senator Latz, who you had on the show not too long ago. There's really two distinct philosophical positions. You can agree that the government should indiscriminately collect data on all citizens, innocent or guilty, without cause, so that you can use that data later, or you believe that innocent folks should not be surveilled and not have the details of their everyday life collected and stored by the state. I don't believe that folks should have their whereabouts and their daily activities and associations tracked and stored by government without cause.
Is there any chance for bipartisanship on these issues?
There's a huge chance, in fact, it's a reality. There's a broad bipartisan group of legislators. Senator Dibble, who's the co-chair of the Data Practices Commission, Representative Lesh, are actually co-authors on my LPR bill, my license plate reader bill, as well as the constitutional amendment. Data privacy is an issue that spans the ideological spectrum, and we have a strong, I would say we have a strong civil liberties majority when it comes to data privacy in the state legislature.
But
I think
police associations, I can see police really fighting you on this, obviously.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Law enforcement has been probably the chief opponent of these sorts of reforms that we've been talking about, and understandably, I understand that they want to have as much data as they possibly can to quote unquote catch the bad guys, but I don't think most folks are comfortable with having their information, their activities, and their associations of their everyday life stored without a reason to do so. And I think that's the difference. Everybody agrees we should give them the tools to catch the folks who have committed crimes or there's probable cause to believe they have. It's the rest of us who are just going about our everyday lives that are uncomfortable with the notion that our activities are going to be tracked and stored indefinitely.
So you feel something will come out of session, this particular session, around these issues?
Yeah, I think on a number of fronts, yes.
Nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
it.
over. Yeah, you bet.
Nice to